high-intensity interval training has become more popular in recent years. I think it's largely a lot around the good literature that has been published in the area showing that it definitely has a lot of physiological and performance benefits in terms of endurance adaptations. So this is the main reason, and obviously people are also very short on time, and it's a great way to kind of get a really high physiological stress in limited time without having to go out on these extended long duration runs and bikes and swims. So when it comes to training, what we're trying to do is we are actually trying to get a big disturbance in our physiological homeostasis. So we're trying to make ourselves fatigue, and high intensity interval training is a really great way of doing that. But when we look at it from a mitochondrial standpoint, and mitochondria is the powerhouse in the muscle cells talked about a lot in the scientific literature, really important component for endurance training. What has been shown in the literature is that generally volume of training shows an increase in the mitochondrial number, whereas high intensity interval training has an increase in the mitochondrial function, which is actually really, really important, because then you're trying to build the engine on one side and then tune the engine on the other side with the high intensity interval training. And that's been shown in some labs coming out of Australia. Dave Bishop's a lead researcher in this area, and that's the general consensus and thinking around why high intensity interval training is a key component to people's training regimes. I'm a big fan of high intensity interval training. Obviously I don't do too much, around 10 to 20% of my training will be around that high intensity range, but my favourite sessions have always been a big fan of 8 by 4 minutes with 2 minutes recovery at about 10% to 15% above my threshold power. And that's a really great session, and it was actually from a study by a guy called Steptoe et al, who's a really great physiologist, and he showed some massive improvements from doing that sort of work, which is 32 minutes of total work. Running is actually a very similar session. My favourite HIIT session is 8 by 1K on the running track, 200 meters recovery, really good session. You're doing that as your maximal maintainable pace. So for me, if I'm running my threshold's around 330, I'll be trying to run around 310s or 305s to 310s for those, and they're my two favourite cycling and running sessions. So when it comes to high intensity interval training, in terms of pre-nutrition, what I generally recommend for athletes is that it depends on what you're trying to achieve and whether that exercise is actually clamped or not. What we mean by clamped is it a session where you're basically it's going to be as hard as you can possibly go, and you're trying to get everything out of yourself, so you're trying to look for the maximal power you can possibly do for a session that might be 10 by 3 minutes or 8 by 4 minutes. So if that is the case, then I would recommend that you do take a little bit of carbohydrate before that. So something like Race Plus formula is really, really good. And that can range from anywhere between 20 and 60 grams of carbohydrates prior, which can be 30 to 60 minutes prior. But everyone's a little bit different. Some might be close to the 20, some might be close to the 60, so it's all about finding your sweet spot. However, if it's not clamped and it's like 8 by 4 minutes and you only want to have a set power output, I wouldn't really recommend that you need carbohydrate before that. You can just have something that's a bit more satiating, more of a pure protein or more of a pure fat, and that will be enough to get you through the workout. And you could likely have better training adaptations from that session from going in a slightly glycogen depleted state.